I'm recording.
Yay! All right. So I want to take this moment to talk about around the room. Two things that I wanted to just briefly mention is the Wayne County Chamber of Commerce will have their State of the Workforce on April 30th. Roxy, I don't know if you have access to that link, and I meant to put it in here this morning, and I had some phone calls I had to take care of this morning, but that is their State of the Workforce. Will be addressing Wayne County and what's going on. I believe Eastern Indiana Works will also be part of that conversation, as well as several others, but it is definitely something that you would want to participate in. And I think Roxy is going to drop the link there in the chat box. But if you have not signed up for that, I believe, Roxy, and you can speak a little bit more about it. I think there is an in-person option as well as a virtual option. I will tell you that these State of the Chamber have been well attended and well received so far. So I think it's a really great move on the part of the Chamber. But Roxy, I didn't know if you want to add anything to that comment.
Yeah, if you haven't been to one of these, I think of it kind of as like a state of the union or state of the city address. And this time we're specifically talking about the workforce. And so we have an incredible panel. Jason's on that panel, as well as Peggy Sanova. We have someone from Meridian Health, I believe, as well as Mike Rowe will be here to talk about just our current workforce and where we plan to see that go. We know that our workforce is struggling right now. We want to make sure that we have the resources available to them. The event is next Friday, so the 30th, from 8 to 10 at Forest Hills, or there is a virtual option if you would like to attend that, but please buy your tickets ahead of time. We tend to sell out. We're growing this because of COVID, so we have 80 in person this time. But breakfast will be served, so it'll be a great event. I'm excited about the panel, and I think the questions that we're already seeing will make this a really lively discussion. So if you do have questions that you would like the panel to cover, you can send those to me in a private chat, or you can email Melissa.
Thank you. And Marty with Belden has joined us. So Marty, welcome. We are just going around the room. So if you have something to share, be thinking about that. I also wanted just to bring to the attention to this group, there is going to be a trauma conversation happening in June. George, I didn't know if you want to take a moment just to briefly talk about that.
Sure. You can go ahead and tentatively put a date on your calendar of June the 9th. And I believe we're going to meet at 9 o'clock, and it will likely go until 11 or 12 tentatively, and it'll be at Reed. And so the basic idea is that there are several people or groups in the community that are doing some work on trauma-informed care, for lack of better words. And for the most part, the work's kind of been done in silos. You know, Reed has been doing some phenomenal things. Richmond Community Schools has been doing some fantastic things. We've been addressing this issue at Western Wayne. Centerstone's kind of doing it as well, but we really feel like to make the difference that we would like to make, we really need to link arms and do some of this work together as best we can. So we're going to have kind of a kickoff meeting for this idea on June 9th at Reed, and we'd love to have as many people as possible. I think, Acacia, how many people did we say we have space for?
I believe there are space for 75 right now, unless something changes within Reed's COVID regulations. So we'll see what that final number looks like. So thank you for that, George. I just want to throw this out there. So we are looking at, within this conversation, to really hit all of our population here in Wayne County. So, you know, if you think about, and I know it's a very different subject, but if you think about this touches our education field, it touches our employment field. So if you are a business, I would definitely encourage you to send a representative to this, things that your own employees may be going through. From an educational standpoint, we know that a lot of the school systems here in Wayne County are getting some support from the United Way on this trauma subject. But we have a lot to learn. So even that even that from the elementary all the way through post-secondary. So I want you to be thinking about really, this is something that touches everyone and every part of our workforce throughout Wayne County, as well as our education pipeline. And so just be thinking about that and thinking about if you could send at least one representative, or as we start, we have another meeting this Friday with some internal communication about how we will want to invite different people and different populations. So again, there is not, I would encourage you to be thinking about it, because there is not one facet of our county that this does not touch in some capacity. So just be thinking about that. All right, other things that people want to share, this is your time.
I'd like to share, if possible, about the Empower Wayne County. This is Sally for IU East. We're wrapping up the Empower Wayne County project that we introduced at the beginning of this semester. This Friday, our students will give their presentations about the work that they've been doing. So they've been working with a women's workshop in Richmond. They've been working with Girls Inc., as well as the Third Grade Academy Every Child Can Read program. So they've been doing some really great work. I'm happy to put the link in the chat if anyone wants to attend the event this Friday to watch the students present. But we're really excited about the work that they've been doing and what they've been learning throughout the process, working as a group, working with a client or a liaison as part of the project. They're learning real work skills when trying to get through this project. So we're really excited about the opportunity for the public to see what they've completed.
Thank you, Sally.
I have a event. I'm going to stick it in the.
Oh, Elisa, you muted yourself.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so the community work group to transform recovery systems for substance use will be meeting noon to 1 this Friday. We are a group of folks who are supported by Drug Free Wayne County, and this is a pilot from Purdue Extension to address substance misuse in communities. Oftentimes we find that folks are very siloed, or we don't really understand how each of these different pieces works together. So we're doing a mapping project to look at how does this recovery system function and where are the gaps and barriers that we can kind of begin to address as a group. So if you're interested, I would encourage you to come. This also kind of relates to trying to address trauma in the community, because a lot of folks who have substance misuse do have long trauma histories, and we see that this tends to cycle in families as well. So.
Thank you. Jerry, I believe that there was something that you wanted to share about the Excel Center.
Yes, thank you. So the Excel Center is having an event on April 29th from 3 to 5. It's an open house barbecue. We're going to have games, give away a couple of little bicycles for toddlers. Just an event to kind of welcome people in. If you don't know about the Excel Center, if you want to see more about what we do and how we connect, so we can take students 16 and above. The oldest I've seen is 77, so there's really no age limit there. So if you want to come on out and just hang out and have a hot dog and some chips, we'd love to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other things to share?
We're continuing to roll out the career coaching and employer connections model, and we're engaging a lot of students and employers in that process. Also, to share with this group, I am attending the county coalition groups that have formed now in Randolph and Rush County to support similar work to what the Wayne County Coalition is doing to support the 21st Century Talent rollout. So excited to see those other counties engaged, and that we're intentionally connecting on that, and certainly have enjoyed all of the things that I've learned through my work with the Wayne County Coalition. You guys are really so progressive and way ahead of the curve, and it's really going to help me with my work with other counties.
Thank you, Kim. All right, well, if we have nothing additional to share at this moment, if you do have additional things, please put that in the chat. We will make sure that we record that for this information. Jeff, did you actually want to, I know that you're going to represent, but did you want to announce what happened yesterday?
Sure. Wayne County applied for grant funding from Okra to be able to support for-profit businesses that have been having challenges due to COVID. There are some specifics around employees that are low to moderate income, but we will be announcing in the next few days the guidelines for application for grants for businesses up to $10,000 per business. And we'll be moving forward with that over the next few weeks. And very excited about another opportunity to support Wayne County businesses in the recovery process.
Thank you, Jeff. And I will just say that we did get some of the, well, actually, we did get the broadband survey results back from Purdue. It was interesting. So just know that we will be sharing those in the coming weeks. We have to get through some processes before we announce that publicly, but it was interesting. And so we appreciate the support of this coalition and forwarding that information. But it was good data for us to have and for us to ways to move forward as a county. So I wanted to thank everybody for sharing that information with us, for us. So just to recap the last meeting we talked about talent strategy and about career awareness at all levels. And we had a presentation from Melissa Davis with Junior Achievement and presenting to the Employability Coalition on supporting their virtual career fair for elementary students. And so the coalition did vote to support that, in which we did do that. And so they are in the process of going through that right now. It is April and May for those elementary schools here in Wayne County. And the last count I had that they had more than 800 students, elementary students being involved in that. So we were happy to support that information. And so we are going to get started on today's presentation. Jeff Plaster and apologize, Senator Rotz, we weren't sure if you were going to be able to make it today, so your name is not on here, but I wanted to give them some time, some space to talk about this pilot program that they're working on regarding youth apprenticeships. So Jeff, we will let you take it from here.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Rotz very quickly. I will just say that he has been working in the apprenticeship area for several years now, and his position as the chairman of the Senate's Education Committee kind of uniquely positions him to be able to provide leadership for our effort in this region. And we are approaching it from a regional perspective. Obviously, Wayne County is a part of the Eastern Indiana region. So without further ado, I will ask Senator Rotz to share the work he's been doing on youth apprenticeships. Jeff?
Thanks, Jeff and Acacia both. This is an endeavor that I'm intricately involved in, and certainly as part of my belief that this is a great opportunity, not only for individuals, but in their education, as well as employers across the region to basically help create their own workforce pipeline. And as of today, you know, where we are with the necessity of folks, and I'm certain employers around that are in this meeting all know that finding people to work and come to work consistently has not changed, at least overall in my perspective from a lot of the conversations that I've had even as of late. So the youth apprenticeship, I want to first of all make sure that, you know, the term apprenticeship traditionally has been affiliated with union work, and that's not at all what we're talking about. There was a lot of initial conversation on whether we should change the term to delineate between a union and really what we're talking about here, and the choice was to continue to use that term. So this actually started in 2018. So we're in year 3 of this effort in the state. It started in central Indiana, and it was actually started by a grant from Fairbanks Foundation. And one of their limitations is that the Fairbanks Foundation can only spend money that benefits Marion County. But there are certainly some other folks who are involved in it, philanthropic efforts as well. But because it was only in Marion County, one of the things they did is invite others to the table, because their initiative, really, they wanted to be statewide. And so we were able to participate and learn in the process. But they were fundamentally focused on Marion County. So there are people from all over Elkhart, from Southern Indiana, that are involved. Certainly higher ed. I know Ivy Tech is intricately involved. Vincennes is. Some of the other higher ed institutions are also coming to the table and participating. And so in 2019, I became aware of it and began to participate. And I don't want you to sometimes when I mention this in a group setting, there's a gasp for air, but there were several trips to Sweden to see the Swedish model of youth apprenticeships. And their model, just very briefly, about the 9th grade here chronologically in the US, kids have decided which avenue they're going to go. They're either going to continue on with higher ed, or they're going to follow a career pathway. And even if they follow a career pathway, there's mixed in their college credits and career tech ed in order to prepare them for the workforce. And their apprenticeship model, they actually begin working in the workforce at that young age. And so whatever part we do here in the US or in Indiana specifically in our region, remains to be seen. So since 2019, I've been sitting in meetings and conversing about this. So here we are in 2021, and what does it mean for Wayne County? Well, I want to mention some other things. Superintendent Philhauer's on this call, and he has certainly been part of the conversation along the way as we move forward. And he's working with Purdue Polytech now, which Polytech High School, I believe, and there's some thought patterns on even that being a segue into some of this. But so here we are at this moment in 2021, and there's, as you can imagine, there's a great deal of work that has to go on behind the scenes. And so when we crosswalk, how can a student receive high school credits or even college credits while working on the job? And so just that, what I just said, is enough to take about 10 years to figure out, and requires higher ed at the table, requires the Department of Ed at the table, requires employers at the table. And what does that mean for an employer? Do they have to have a trainer? Do they need someone that's academic? And let's just picture I don't know, a CNC machine, let's say, and can a student learn mathematics, whether it's algebra or geometry, and creating a program to run a part in a machine. And so there are a lot of things involved. So what we don't want to do is, to dispel kind of a thought pattern, is we don't want someone to get high school credit for assisting an organization and pushing a broom. Not that they couldn't learn work ethic and soft skills, but we want them to be able to earn credits while they're doing this, both high school and college level. So there's a great deal of work, as I said, you can imagine, that is going on at the moment. There is an opportunity. There's a national organization by the name of New America that really was brought in from the onset. They're doing work around the US. I was first introduced probably in 2017 in Colorado, a program called CareerWise, and it was really around plastic injection molding through an individual that had worked with youth, troubled youth, and segued them into his own business and created this opportunity, and it blossomed, kind of an entrepreneurial individual. And so that kind of is the beginning in the US and how this whole thing kind of started. And then it just word of mouth traveled from Colorado to Indiana and many other states, actually. So at any rate, so how would this actually work? It would, there are existing opportunities or relationships that are actually happening. And I only thought of a few, and I want to mention them that I know of currently. So Reed works directly with Ivy Tech, works directly with IU East, works directly with and possibly even some school districts in the county. Sugar Creek is a part of it, I believe. They've done some things. Belden has students that work during school hours in their facilities. Dot Foods had some students that were working there as well. And so those are some low hanging fruit that I think will be the easiest to get in and work it so that the employers will benefit, the students benefit, and at the end of the day, an employer will be able to look at the return on investment and say, yes, we've been able to get our return on investment. So I kind of picture that by thinking maybe there are 10 students that participate annually in a Belden or a Sugar Creek, and let's say 6 or 7, 5 of them end up becoming full employees when they graduate. And then the employer looks at it and says, yes, if we have 50% return on investment, then we can make money at it. And not only will they be in the part of production while they're participating during high school, but the real benefit, I think, comes from creating your own workforce pipeline. And in addition to that, it'll help, I think, us as a rural community in Indiana to retain some of our workforce, especially to keep them there and grow families and participate and keep the cycle going so we don't continue to lose population. So there are a lot of ramifications here, I think, that will benefit us. The other piece where we are right at the moment, I've been advocating over here and probably hope to have a meeting today with the appropriations chair. We're looking for a sizable amount of money from the dollars that are in flux that are incoming from the federal government to help stand this program up and across the state, meaning helping establish employer relationships. And when there are some difficulties here. When I say that, I think about the Beldens and some of those who are already participating. How do we get in that equation, both through the current school that's participating with them? And I think actually Superintendent Philhauer, I think you also have students or have had students at Belden. How do we get in that equation where we don't step on anybody's toes, but kind of formalize the process from a state level and incentivize the opportunity? And those are things that we have to work out. And that's what this pot of funding would do, not only introduce it to employers, but help formalize from a little bit different perspective, really what we're doing without taking anything away from anybody, only enhancing. And so that is probably a trick that will be one of the more difficult things. The other thing that I think, and Kim Thurlow has done a great job working in Wayne County and certainly others as well. How do we, and thinking about also the workforce board, how do we kind of get in the middle of this thing and bring everybody together so we work together well on a comprehensively and again, not push anybody out, but proliferate students actually being part of the process and working on the floor in an organization. So, how do we all work together and play in the sandbox and not eliminate anybody, but still accomplish the purpose that we have? And so those are some of the human skills that we got to work through. But I'm really excited about it. I think a lot of the work has been done. There's still a lot of work to do. This is kind of a decade in the making, to be honest with you. So we're 3.5 years into this thing. And it's going to take a decade, I believe, to really see it come to fruition in a sizable fashion. But we think we got the funding. We're working on that. As I said today, I'll have another meeting that we're excited about to help stand it out stand it up across the state, which will actually complement the national dollars that are going to flow into the state, or actually they're already here, I believe. And so the formal process has begun. Jeff and I have probably I don't know, a 70-page PDF document that we got to go through and work with the counties in the region to prepare, give a kind of an overshot, and certainly probably have to talk to some of you as well, give an overshot of where we are and where we want to go, and then get help from the coalition, which is actually Ascend Indiana, to work to help synthesize all that work and get it moving forward. So that's a lot said. I'm open to any questions. I may have left some holes in there.
Jeff, let me ask you a couple of questions to try to clarify. One thing that he just talked about was the Indiana Youth Apprenticeship Accelerator, which is a grant competition proposal. This is based on private outside dollars that are coming into the state of Indiana that would fund a couple of pilot projects across the state to, in the next year, get commitments from partners who would have pieces of this puzzle, meaning schools, employers, colleges, that would commit to engaging in a process that would lead to a pilot program that would start in the fall of 2022, that 2022-23 school year, with somewhere between 15 and 30 students and 3 to 5 employers and at least 3 or 4 school systems to pull together into a pilot program. So that's what Jeff and I are working towards. It would be regional in scope, meaning it wouldn't just include Wayne County, but the 6 counties, at least in our region, would be invited to the table. And from interested folks, we would work through who the partners would be for the initial pilot. The other thing that Jeff is working on that's tangentially related, and I'm not sure exactly where that's at yet, Jeff, is legislation that would allow kids to work for a paid apprenticeship, and that their wages would not count against their household's income if they are receiving public assistance. So Jeff, where?
Yeah, that piece of legislation, I believe that's I did have that down, Jeff. I appreciate you bringing that up. That is, and that happened in Wayne County. Actually, there were 2 students that I believe were from Richmond Community Schools and working at Belden that couldn't, they had to quit because I think they were living with their grandmother, if I'm not mistaken, and their grandparents, and they were going to they lost benefits based on the income for those students. And so we have been successful. That should be signed into law if it isn't already. This session, it was last week or the week before, it went across the floor in the Senate, and to separate that so that a household wouldn't be negatively affected by those students earning wages. So great comment. I'm glad you brought that up.
So there was a question from Lisa about the pilot program. What's it called? It's called the Indiana Youth Apprenticeship Accelerator. And it's being sponsored by Ascend and what's the
presently it's New America at the moment.
America, right?
Yeah, and so when I hate to mention dollar figures, but we're actually asking for $20 million from the latest American Recovery Plan, excuse me, And that process is happening as we speak. I had intricate conversations yesterday about it. And so in addition to New America, to help move this thing forward in the future, there's already been there's been $30 million that have been 20 million, I think, has been expended up to this point, having gone on for the 3 years. And which would actually, as Jeff mentioned, would accelerate the opportunity and help stand up the relationships between high schools, employers, and the apprenticeship piece out in the various parts of the state. So we're excited about that and hope to accomplish that. And it's
Yeah.
looking pretty good at the moment.
So Senator Ross,
Off the top of your head, Jeff, before we go to the other question, do you remember the bill number for that legislation that would allow the kids to work without counting against their parent or guardian's?
I do not at the moment, but as soon as we finish this conversation, I'll mute. I'm in my office, and so we'll look at it and be able to share with you all before I get off the call.
Great. There's a couple of questions about what all is involved, and the best way to check that is to know the number, the bill number.
Right.
yes. So Senator Ross and Jeff, I have some questions for you. So that 20 million that you're talking about, is that statewide or is that within the region that you're serving?
No, that will be statewide.
Okay. And then my second question is how will this differ from the state Earn and Learn program under the Office of Work-Based Learning?
Well, and there's collaboration between the two. I don't think we have it down specific yet, but I spent a great deal of time on the phone with the Department of Workforce Development and the Work-Based Learning Project. They have an Office of Work-Based Learning, not only him, but the leader of Department of Workforce Development as well. And so there's got to be a lot of collaboration, just as I mentioned with Kim Thurlow and others that have done some work in this area. And so, and it's not always that easy. So there's some misnomers, but it's being worked through and to benefit the entire state, the employers and students as well.
Thank you for that. So I guess the follow-up question to that, is this also working alongside the workforce boards who hold some of the work-based learning dollars for the region? Is this also part of that partnership agreement?
Not presently. Now I know there's work in Marion County with the workforce board, and present there's been some conversation with our local workforce board, and maybe the gentleman might want to comment on that. My answer is I'm not aware of any others around the state at this moment.
Asia, I'm on both the workforce board and the elected officials organizing committee with Eastern Indiana Works. So there's a committee of chief elected officials that help coordinate parts of those programs. So I serve on both of those, and I'm working with Mike Rao to make sure that we're working together.
Great. So just a couple follow-ups, and I know that there's probably some other questions besides just myself, but well, Senator Ross, I will say that the progress of getting student wages excluded from household incomes is going to be monumental for this region. I have worked in workforce development for a long, long time. And that has always been in any of the conversations that we had in partnerships and working with employers and working with programs to get students skilled up and, getting them employed and trying to get them internships, externships, et cetera. As soon as you throw a wage into it, it just creates all sorts of problems. And so congratulations to you and others that helped pass that, because that in and of itself will be monumental for not just those here in Wayne County, but again, across the state. And that's going to be huge. So congratulations for that. So I'll stop asking questions, but wanted to open it up to the rest of this group on questions they might have on this youth apprenticeship program and piloting that Senator Rotz and Jeff Plaster are working on.
What kind of support would you like from this group? Or what's your ask, I guess?
Well, from an employer standpoint and from a relational standpoint, what exists out there. And then certainly as Superintendent Philhauer's on the school districts in the area, which we've had a great conversation. We've met all together. In fact, everybody from the district has met. We met probably a year ago, maybe a little bit in advance from the Eastern Indiana region, actually, all school districts were represented. And so the initial conversation started, and we got off track a little bit because of COVID, but we're back on. I would say hang on. There's going to be some things that Jeff and I are going to need on this expansive PDF, the application essentially. So we're going to have to reach out to folks and get some additional information. And so that's the first thing that I think that we're going to need. So appreciate that offer.
Thank you, Senator.
Do we have any questions from our employers that happen to be on the call today?
From Belden's standpoint, we are participating in the youth apprenticeship programs already, and it's been fairly successful for us. I think some of the things mentioned today will certainly help us continue to move that forward. So I'll look forward to hearing more about it.
Thanks, Marty.
All right, do we have any other final questions for Senator Rotz or Jeff Plaster?
Yeah, I'm going to step away for a minute, get that bill number, and I'll share it back. Then I have a 10 o'clock, so I'm going to do that right now. Thanks.
Thanks,
All
Jeff.
right. Thank you. Well, we will move on from that. If you have any additional questions, you can send that to either Jeff Plaster or myself, and I will make sure that they, both of those individuals, get those questions to you. So just want to thank you, Jeff and Senator Rotz, again for your time this morning. Definitely, it's a very much needed program that we think could really benefit our Wayne County and Wayne County youth. And as I've mentioned, that career pipeline, getting these students connected directly with employers in our area will just help all of our goals and things that we've been working on here as a coalition. And so looking forward to seeing how this kind of plays out. I did learn that for those of you who may be familiar, Perry Central Commodore Manufacturing is down in Southern Indiana. It's a student-ran, high school student-ran manufacturing facility within the school system, and they have some employer partners. And I did learn last week that they are officially becoming a registered apprenticeship program through that program. So there's going to be some exciting work. Just to give you some context, Perry Central is about the size of Western Wayne schools. So we know that it is very much a doable process. And they've had some great success with their employers and their high schools. And so definitely something that this group could support and very achievable with our school systems and our employers in the area. So just wanted to kind of mention that. So again, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, Roxy, you are up.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm excited to hear all of these conversations happening because I think they're so needed in our community. And I want to touch on the Chamber's latest project and what we're working on. Recently, in the past years, we've done a traditional high school job fair where all of the seniors who are graduating come in, they do the job fair floor, there's a few workshops, and we knew pre-COVID that event was great, but it wasn't really hitting the need of the employer or of the students who didn't have post-graduation plans. So COVID gave us the chance to take a step back and kind of evaluate where we were going. We met with George and a few other superintendents in the community and started having conversations about how we shift this project. And I'm really excited to announce that we have come up with an event called the hiring fair, and we will be specifically working with seniors who have no post-graduation plans. So we've worked with our counselors and our principals, and we have come up with about 125 students. I expect that number to change a little bit over the next few days. But what will happen is employers have registered positions on Who's Your Opportunity. You might have heard last week the number of positions on Who's Your Opportunity increased. That was because of the hiring fair. And students will actually apply for those positions and those applications will come to the chamber. The chamber will then set up live interviews for these positions, and students will come to the hiring fair. They will do a small traditional job fair portion, but that's more to just get them comfortable with the location, get them comfortable with the employers, and then they will go into a live interview. And we are going to do per hour 6 10-minute interviews. So there's a chance that employers will have lots of interviews that day. At least they will have 6 an hour while they're there. So we are hoping to fill all of those positions. That would be like the best case scenario, and all of these students walk away with a career. That's our biggest goal, is to fill as many positions as we can with a captive audience. And we know that this is a Hail Mary for some of these students. They don't know what they're doing after graduation. We've pushed it to the very end of the school year. Hopefully they're thinking, okay, what am I going to do? What's my next plan? And we're working with our employers right now to make sure that they understand these students will probably have never thought about working full time. They don't know what benefits are. Making sure that they have a really good orientation program to bring these students in, make them feel a part of the company, and that there's some long-term investments here that will hopefully turn into gainful employment for these students. So this event is taking place on May 13th at the Western Wayne Administration Building in Pershing. We will need volunteers, so probably a lot more volunteers than we've needed in the past, just because these students will need to be helped through the process. They will hear from Chad Bolser, Sherry Lynn Johnson, and Carl Reinhardt before the day begins. They'll get like this pump up speech, like how important this experience is for them, as well as, there's an opportunity here that you may not get at any other time in your lifetime, so take advantage of it. But we will ask this committee as well to help with volunteer positions that day. I'm really excited because Fort Wayne County has made it possible that all of these students will receive a Padfolio. Oh, Akasi is holding it up. They will receive this Padfolio, and inside the Padfolio, I feel like Vanna White, like she's being my Vanna White right now, will be flyers from all of our local education, higher ed institutions. So students won't see IU East, Ivy Tech, Purdue, Earlham represented at the actual job fair, but they will have information in their Padfolios. Who's Your Opportunity has obviously partnered with us as well, since all the positions are posted on there, and they are paying for all of the employers that participate. They will receive a marketing video from us as part of this event, but students will also receive a backpack that day. And we're excited to have those two big partnerships with this event. So if you have any questions, or if you think of ways we can improve on this event, we would love to hear those. We're running with this. It's the first time we've ever done it. It's not a completely smooth process, but we're working on it.
Thank you, Roxy. How many employers do you have signed up so far?
Well, I was just counting that. We have 18 employers right now, and they're a wide range. We have everything from agriculture to our typical manufacturing plants. We have Reed, of course. We have some nonprofits there. We also have construction. We have Wetzel Auto. So we have some senior facilities that are looking for janitorial staff, third shift, like clerical staff. So lots of opportunity, Holiday Inn, some great opportunities for students, and a diverse field of positions.
how does someone, especially I'm thinking about this committee specifically, how does someone volunteer? I mean, are you going to be putting a sign out? I mean, how are you going to let people know they need to sign up?
I will send you a link to a volunteer sign up, and Acacia, if you will share that with this committee, we will get those positions filled up.
Thank you. What other questions might you have for Roxy? We just have a super quiet group this morning. Well, this is something definitely that Fort Wayne County wanted to be a part of. Again, when we talk about supporting our students with no plan, directly with a career opportunity, and hats off to all those employers who are saying, you know what, while we wanted to support the chamber in the past, we knew we were going to hire much people. This is something totally different, where these are these students who, you know, we talk about it often that they don't have a plan. They don't have anything going on after high school. And so what a great way to say, let's get them connected with a local employer. And so we definitely wanted to support this in any way we could. And 18 employers directly signing up. I mean, they were pretty excited. I know that when Roxy, you can speak to this more, but just in the planning phases of talking about it with the Chamber's Business and Education Committee, our employers were like, we love this. This makes much more sense for us, for these students who are actually looking for work. And so, you know, hats off to the chamber for kind of redesigning that and making it happen. So yes, we will get the link out to this group to sign up to volunteer for that.
I think it's really interesting. We've been promoting this in our on our website and in social media, and we have had over 30 requests from other communities to explain what we're doing. And they really want, like, some of them jumped in on our webinar a couple weeks ago. It's been, and they're not just from like local areas, they're from all over the country. They're going, wait, what are you doing? Can you explain that to us more? So this is getting a lot of traction because other communities are facing the same issue.
Roxy, can you say just a bit about what kind of time commitment for volunteers, and what was the date?
It's May 13th, and we have volunteer shifts throughout the day. So you can sign up for multiple shifts and do something all day long. It's running from 7:30 is when employers can get there until 1:30, which is when I believe the last group leaves. So if you want to be there the whole day, you can, or if you want to do just a, you know, an hour or two in the morning or afternoon, you can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And if you haven't seen, Senator Rotz put in the chat, it's House Bill 1009. And he says it's in the final stages, so it's probably in a conference committee or something at the moment. It's not a done deal at this point, but it allows for up to $15,000 in wages for the kids that would not be included in family income.
All right, any other final questions for Roxy? All right, well, thank you for that. Looking forward to this event. Just excited to see the employers that have come on, the partners that are coming on board. And again, this is, I would say it's not such a new idea, but it's a really shift in mindset of what are we doing with these students? We want them to work. We want them to be part of our workforce. You know, we don't want them to struggle in areas that they couldn't. But at the same time, what we really liked about this is the fact that, you know, with these education flyers, you know, education may not be their path right now, but that doesn't mean that it might not be their path down the road, or they could start it while working. And we have some great employers, not only on this call, but, you know, around our county that, you know, do tuition reimbursement. And so it might, you know, it might be a pathway for them to start that process as well. So thank you for that, Roxy.
Absolutely, thank you.
So I wanted to give some state updates that I was on a call last week about. So just an update for this group, I know because we've been talking about it quite a bit, but the Work Ready grants under the Next Level Jobs, those are the ones that are paid directly to or for the student. There have been 43,000 starts and 22,000 completions. And so that has been a great benefit to our area. I know that there have been several that have been taking part in that. But it's one of those things that it was interesting to hear and see. For the first time ever, our college going rate, so those going to college, has dipped below 60%. And so that is raising some eyebrows across the state. Again, this is not just unique to Indiana. It is something happening nationally, but it is something to be thinking about and what we define as traditional college students. But it is now at 59% for Indiana. The high school waiver diploma is at 28%. That is up from 22% the following year. This is raising some serious concern at the state level and what this means for our high schools. Again, this is not unique. This is not Wayne County information. This is just statewide. The high school waiver diploma is up 6% from the previous year. And so probably lots of things that go into that, but I will tell you the Commission of Higher Education and those that sit on the Education and Department of Education are really, it has really just kind of jarred them a little bit how much that grew over the past year. So just looking at that. Question from Elisa about were there any reasons about why the college going rate is dropping? No, they did also not speak directly to it that was COVID related. It has been probably a more of a national trend that has been going down over the past several years. And that could be, you know, for any number of reasons. The education pathways can be different for some individuals and it just looks different. And so they don't have any explanation at this point, other than they are going to be looking at how do we look at college in general, and what that could be, you know, everyone. And I think that's something we need to discuss, not as this group, but just be thinking about is going to college looks different for everybody. So traditionally, and I think a lot of those traditional numbers, those college going rates are at a more traditional student level. But what maybe not is in that equation if someone is going to school part-time, or maybe they take a class here and there as they're working. So, you know, Roxy, to your credit, Roxy just put in the chat that maybe it means that more students are receiving technical certificates during high school, and that could be very well, you know, very well true as well. And so, you know, there could probably be any number of reasons for that. So I also want to mention that the Center for Talent and the IEDC, as you know, they maybe you don't know, but they merged. And so they are part of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. They mentioned this, so I'm just kind of putting it on the radar for our employers that are on this call today. They are creating a talent assessment for employers tool. And that is supposed to be coming hopefully in May. So I just wanted to kind of mention that to the employers on this group. Also, just wanted you guys to understand that the regional workforce boards are now, not now, but are registered, approved apprenticeship. I can't read my writing on this. Registered apprenticeship sponsors. So Ivy Techs are part of that as well. I mean, they have a statewide system, but our regional workforce boards are registered apprenticeship sponsors. So that means that they can work with our employers on those registered apprenticeships. And I did confirm with Wayne yesterday that Region 6, Eastern Indiana Works, is one of those registered apprenticeship sponsors. So if you have questions about that, you can reach out to Wayne Williams, or if you have questions, you know, from the Ivy Tech side, Kim can get you connected to that as well. We also touched briefly about the Indiana GPS project that has some workforce data for our region and statewide and kind of what that means. And so I just wanted to put the link for that in this PowerPoint presentation. You will get this presentation as well as the notes here probably by the end of the day. I'm trying to work on getting that out. But it is something that, you know, that has a lot of good data for you. And so they did a big presentation statewide, but you can find all of that information here at this link. Do you have any questions on that? All right. Well, we will go next. And so I also wanted to take some time. I think it's always good to kind of reflect on what we've been working on. And so what we have been talking about over the course of this coalition is some of the goals that we wanted to do. So if you remember, some of our big goals were that we wanted to increase our population. We wanted to increase our per capita personal income. We wanted to reduce poverty levels, and that we wanted to increase our educational attainment here in Wayne County. And so I wanted to make sure, I know it's not nice and pretty, we're redesigning this whole this whole page, but this is my really quick way to summarize kind of where we're at. So this is the most recent data that we have. So 2019, our population did drop a little bit, but again, that's, you know, something that we will work on in the future. You know, I know that around the county, we have a lot of quality of place initiatives happening or in the works. And so they are working on that number. Our per capita personal income, good news that it did raise in 2019. So it went up over $1,000 from 2018 to 2019. And so we are slowly probably marching towards that goal of 2025. Our poverty rate by 2019 did dip under 16% at 15.2%. And then our percent of college with some college or more, we look at this in two different ways. And so some college or more is at the 49.2%. One of the goals that we have for the coalition is those holding a certification or higher. That holding a certification or higher does match towards the governor's goal of 60% of Indiana by 2025 holding some sort of certification or higher. And so we did increase. 2020, we are now at 30.4%. The coalition had an original goal of increasing that locally by 1% over the course of 5 years. So our goal would be at 35%. So as you can see, we are moving towards that number. And so hats off to all of our education partners that they're doing both at their individual institutions, the partnerships that they're holding with our high schools, those numbers are improving, the work that you do with adults. And so I know that there's lots of different pathways going on, both with even including the next level jobs initiatives, both the employer training grants and the work ready grants all work into those numbers as well. So I think it is important that we look at this so we can show as an employability coalition, the work that we do and the programs that we support directly help our educational institutions raise those numbers. So that's kind of where we're at. Again, this will all be in this PowerPoint PDF. And so who knows, we're making progress. We're making progress within the county. So questions on this? All right. So just some Fort Wayne County updates. The 21st Century Talent Collaborative, as Kim briefly mentioned, a lot of the counties surrounding us that are part of this collaborative are just now starting their workforce coalitions or other coalitions. And so we are well ahead of the pack, but just know that that work is going to start coming down the pipeline. We anticipate probably next quarter where they're going to start doing some things more at a regional level. And so we will probably, not only will Fort Wayne County be a part of that, but there may be individuals specifically within the coalition that will be asked to be part of some of those coalitions. They will be starting like a manufacturing coalition, an education coalition, and other groups. And so just know that we might reach out to you and say, hey, do you want to be part of the regional group? Workforce development initiatives. Fort Wayne County has a grant through the Lilly Endowment, Inc. And it's part of our Gift 7 we talked about, and part of that is for workforce development initiatives. And so Fort Wayne County has sponsored 2 so far. We did the Junior Achievement Virtual Elementary Career Fair, and then as Roxy mentioned, we are sponsoring the high school job fair and working with those talent pipelines. I mention it here today because we want our school systems to know, education partners, et cetera, if there is a workforce development initiative that you are seeking funding for, either within your school or project, et cetera, that if it is something that you wanted to consider Fort Wayne County for sponsorship, we invite you to send that to myself and we will take a look at it and we will bring it up for the coalition to discuss and to see if we can support it in some fashion. So just want to make sure that you are all aware of that. So if you know of those initiatives and you need some funding for it, please get with me. We want to make sure that these dollars are used obviously within Wayne County specifically, but for those workforce development initiatives. I also did want to mention that we are currently, as part of the career awareness campaign, we are doing the online survey. Back in December, we said, hey, we wanted to do a gut check. Are we connecting with our adults the way we should? And so that survey is live until April 28th. There's the link of it. We're getting some good information, but we've been posting on Fort Wayne County social media. But if you wanted to share that with anybody else, or if you wanted to take it, if you fall in within that bracket, then you're more than welcome to take that as well. And then just to let you know that we have updated the Fort Wayne County website. So you can go look at it. It's kind of had a redesign, refresh, and same link, but it has been updated and we're about 90% done. We have our designer who had to go on medical leave for a few weeks. So we wanted to get it out and open, but it is up and running so far. Questions? I didn't think so. So quiet this morning, unlike you guys. You guys are usually chatty. All right, so that is our meeting for today. But just note that our next meeting is May 18th. It will be via Zoom, or are we ready to meet in person? I will not ask you to confirm that today, but if you have thoughts on that, you can shoot me an email. But for right now, we will say it is for Zoom. But if you are wanting to meet in person, we can do it. But again, we understand hesitancies and just some other things that are going. So if you have a preference, please shoot me an email. But right now, we'll just say it's for Zoom. All right. Do I have any other final comments or thoughts? All right. Well, I'm going to give you 15 minutes back into your day. But before I do that, I want to wish Marty, who's on the call, a very happy birthday today. I heard that on the radio coming into work. So Marty, happy birthday. We hope you have a great day.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Birthday, Marty.
Happy birthday.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great day. And I'll get these meeting notes out to you by the end of the day.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye, everybody.